What do you get when you cultivate one of the world's most popular and versatile shellfish in the cold, clear waters of Atlantic Canada? The answer? Lots of flavor on Food Country. The pristine waters surrounding Prince Edward Island and throughout Atlantic Canada support some of the most productive fisheries in the world, but not all of our fish are wild. This is one of the places where farm-raising mussels was pioneered. To farm mussels, you need mussel seed, which must be collected in the wild. During the mussel spawning season, mussel farmers suspend ropes in the ocean. Baby mussels attach themselves to the ropes and begin growing.
As they grow, they get such a huge volume, they'll peel right off that small piece of 3/8 rope that we have deployed.
After 6 months, the baby mussels are big enough to be stripped from the ropes, taken ashore, sorted, transferred to mesh sacks, and then returned to the ocean. After another year or so, they grow to market size and begin their journey to your plate. So this is what mussels look like fresh out of the water. But before the chefs of the world get to play with these, create dishes all over the globe, they first need to be processed. They need to be separated, they need to be cleaned, and their beards need to be removed. And all of that needs to happen gently so the mussels aren't harmed. We're just offshore from Prince Edward Island in the Brudenell River, and this water is actually some of the most productive aquaculture water on the globe. This is the water where the blue mussel is cultivated. Now, to grow a mussel is actually a rather detailed process. The first step is to collect the seed. Ropes are suspended in the water column. The seeds naturally attach themselves to those ropes, and after 6 months or so, the seeds are collected and taken ashore. They're then sorted and graded by size and placed in what are known as socks. Those socks are brought back out to the water, suspended in the water column. After a year or so, they've grown to market size, and that's when we come back and it's time for the harvest. You know, Prince Edward Island is definitely one of the coolest places in the world to be a chef. The fact that I get to just jump on a mussel boat and go out to sea and learn a thing or two about how this harvest works, it makes me a better cook. Because when you appreciate and understand the stories behind your ingredients, when you actually witness the passion and hard work that goes into the food you cook, it just flat out makes you a better cook. Farming at sea is not that different from farming on land. Even out here, the farmer plants seed and hopes for the best. No one knows that better than Bob Fortune.
You have your tail up in the air, and you tie a clove-hitch around
once around and once around the other way.
You've got it.
Because the mussels are hung from ropes, they stay off the muddy bottom, away from hungry predators. And in the water column, mussels grow cleaner, plumper, and tastier. So this is it. They're out, they're gone, and we'll see them again in about a year or so.
Yes, they have to be maintained through that period to add extra flotation. Right now, they're tying on a buoy for every 6 socks that we're tying out. That'll keep them off the bottom until early next spring, and then we'll have to go over them again and add additional flotation.
Mussels don't need feed from the farmer. Instead, they absorb natural food particles present in the cold, clear water. In fact, each mussel filters several gallons of water a day to get its food. Let's just say after a year in the water, the socks are a little heavier. So what do you see here? We've got some barnacles, we've got some starfish, but we've also got a whole lot of very healthy looking mussels.
And I look at them for the nice smooth shell. You can see a check mark in the shell. That would be the size when they were initially deployed.
So that line right there,
it's like growth rings on a tree. When every time you disturb it, it gets a little indentation in the shell.
So when it came out of the water at the seed stage, it set that line, and then we put it back in to continue growing.
Yep.
So that's 1 year's growth right there.
Yep.
You know, one of the things I find fascinating about mussels is that we're able to take them out of the water and they still stay fresh.
Yeah, that's the mussel's natural ability. They have a tightly closing shell that retains the moisture and liquid within the shell. They'll stay alive out of the water for 2 weeks without a problem.
Which is great for us as consumers. I mean, that allows you to get it ashore, get it into the distribution channel, get it to the consumer, and it stays fresh.
Still have an ideal product, yes.
Now, when you hung these socks, the mussels were on the inside of the sock, but now they're on the outside. How does that happen?
The mussels are very mobile. They have a foot that their byssal thread is extruded from, and they'll put the foot on the outside of the mesh attached with byssal thread and pull themselves out. So they've all moved to the outside of the mesh. Gives them the best water flow and the best environment to grow in.
More nutrients, basically. Yeah. They're hungry.
They'll go where the food is.
That's right. Of course, the work's not done yet, is it? We still have to get these ashore. Then we've got to get them off the sock, get the barnacles off of them, the starfish off of them, separate them, and somehow get the beards off without harming the actual mussel. All of that before I get to do my job.
Yes. Yep. We still have a lot of work to do.
Bob, I think it makes us better cooks when we actually understand the hard work that goes into our ingredients. I mean, sometimes we take this sort of thing for granted, but once we understand the story behind our ingredients, somehow they just end up tasting better. So with that in mind, thanks for taking me out to sea today. Thanks so much.
It was my pleasure. I'm looking forward to eating them.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to cooking them. Stay tuned. On future episodes of Food Country, we'll see how mussels are gently processed on land, and I'll show you how easy they are to cook. This is the Brudenell River. This is one of the areas of Prince Edward Island where mussels are grown, where aquaculture mussels are produced. That, of course, means that we need seeds, but mussel farmers don't order mussel seeds out of catalogs. Atlantic Canada is one of the best places in the world to farm mussels. In fact, much of the industry was pioneered here. Our waters are clean and clear and full of mussels, so farming them, cultivating them, is really about encouraging mussels to do what they would do anyway. Nobody knows that better than Bob Fortune. So what are we looking at here? Obviously baby mussels.
Yeah. So this is our collector rope that would have been deployed in the spring. And it's just a piece of used lobster rope, 3/8 rope that has a bristly texture. And the free-swimming mussel larvae will attach to that after they're 2 weeks old and grow to this size in 6 months.
So it's, well, and you can really see it here. So basically it's as simple as hanging an old piece of rope in the water column during the time that the mussels spawn. They come along, they like the rope, they stick to the rope. We come in 6 months later and voila, mussel seed. Now, you didn't just leave these ropes in the water for 3 months. What sort of maintenance do you have to do during the summer?
Well, we have to keep adding flotation to make sure that the lines don't come in contact with the bottom, or we'll have our starfish predators climbing on board.
Starfish. This is not a good thing, is it?
No, this is their number one enemy. You can see how they've eaten the mussels. Empty shells on there. The starfish have wrapped around the mussel and opened it up and digested the meat right inside the shell.
Yeah, just like this guy. Look at him. He's keen. And it looks like humans and starfish aren't the only ones that like mussels.
This time of the year, they just love mussels. They're sitting there cleaning off that line for us. So when we go back to remove this line, they will have eaten every mussel that's on the line.
Now, who figured this process out? Where did all this knowledge come from?
The story was that someone had deployed, a shipwrecked sailor had deployed some stakes to make some kind of a fence structure to trap fish, and found that mussels attached to these ropes in the sticks in the intertidal zone, and that's how mussel culture was invented.
Today, the farmed mussel industry is thriving, largely because these waters are so pristine. Pure water means pure flavor. Pure flavor means a huge export market. Our local mussels are on menus all over the world. They're flavor ambassadors, and it takes a lot of hard work to get them ashore. This is part of the mussel seeding process. These ropes have been hanging in the water column for about 6 months. The baby mussel spat comes along, sticks to the rope. 6 months later, this is what you have, mussel seed. Every one of those tiny baby mussels still has to grow to market size in these same waters, but first they need a bit of onshore processing in the hands of Beth Fortune. So we've come back ashore, we've got all this beautiful mussel seed. It's about 6 months old at this point. What's next?
We bring the seed into the building and we put it in a machine. We call it a clumper. It basically breaks the seed apart into 3, 4 different sizes. It removes a little bit of the byssal thread that they've already extruded, and anything else that might be that was in the water too, like sometimes there'll be the odd starfish or something like that. So all that is removed.
You've graded the seed.
We've graded
You've
the
got
seed.
3 or 4 different sizes. Now it's time to put it in the socks.
Socking material, yeah.
Throughout my long career as a chef, I've learned a thing or two about the link between hard work and flavor. Let's just say I've spent a few 16-hour days in the kitchen. But chefs aren't the only ones who work hard when it comes to food. The baby mussels will be suspended in the ocean in what's known as a sock. The flexible mesh sleeve allows them to absorb lots of nutrients from the water by giving them lots of room to grow and expand, assuming the socks are filled correctly. Hey Dale, let me give you a hand.
Sure.
You're making this look easy. It looks like the sort of thing a chef can do.
Certainly.
Okay, first I gotta find the hole. There it is. Wait a minute, my boots are getting wet. Oh, that's right, you're supposed to have these over the outside. I got about 3 inches of water in my boots right now. Okay. Hey, slow down, you're making me look bad.
Okay.
Okay, how's it work? This goes on, and then
All the way up to the
hold
top.
that up there, then this goes on like that. Okay. It's like putting a sausage casing on. Now
Number
what?
2, hold the tail of your sock.
Hold the
with
tail.
One hand, this hand down here.
This hand down here,
Yep.
and then
Push
just
your-
push it forward?
Push your side forward, hold pressure on that hand.
Okay, here we go. Whoa! Holy cow! That's the one I got up there, then this goes on. Holy cow!
Hand
Hey,
above.
wait a minute! Where's the mussels? Does it, wait! Wait a minute! Wait a minute! I don't think they're going to ask me to come back to work tomorrow. With the socks full of plump baby mussels, the seeding process is done. These mussels are heading back to the water for another year to fatten up to market size, which means there's still lots of work to come. So stay tuned. Food Country will be there. Beth, thanks for sharing with us all the hard work that goes into producing the world's best mussels. And on behalf of everyone that's going to eat them, thank you.
Thank you. Enjoy cooking.
Yeah, that's my job, so I better get back to work.